Katie.
And I'm Will.
Welcome to our channel. Today we wanted to provide you with an in-depth review of our recent cruise aboard Celebrity Equinox to the ABC Islands. So we thought we'd start by talking about some of the key kind of aspects of cruising that folks want to know about. So let's start off with service. So Will, tell us about your experience with service on board the Equinox.
I have to say, we've only sailed with Celebrity as far as our cruise experience. I must say, Celebrity has some of the best customer service in the world. I mean, from the onboard experience to the stateroom attendant to different venues as far as food, it was excellent. So I highly recommend Celebrity if you want that quality customer service experience.
I agree with that. And while we have only sailed Celebrity and we look forward to expanding our horizons with other cruise lines, I certainly can say one of the things we really love about Celebrity is the level of service.
Yes.
And as Will mentioned, from cabin stewards to the dining room staff to just everyone on board the ship. So really, we didn't have a single negative experience with service.
No. And I have to say, give a shout out to our stateroom attendant. His name is John, which is broad, but everything we needed, he was right there. I even, at one point, I lost one of my AirPods, and you guys know those are not cheap. I thought I left it or dropped it in the ocean one night, and I told him about it. And I'm like, hey, I lost it. If you can you just, me and my wife, we tried to look for it, locate it. He found it. It was just little things like that that just goes a long way with Celebrity. Our experiences we were aqua class, so we could dine in blue, which is a specialty. I don't know.
It's the main dining room
for aqua class.
It's smaller than the regular main dining room.
And I must say, they treated me like the king of Wakanda. It was just unbelievable service. So
what struck me with Blue is, so we ate there our first night. Then when we came back the next day for breakfast, the hostess greeted us by our names.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, how can she do that with the thousands of passengers that pass through from month to month? So just little touches.
And just like even the drink staff, they would remember what we like to drink because they have different, I guess, servers or to take your drink order, appetizer, bread, and then you have your main waiter or server. And his name is escaping me, but he
Roderick.
was there. Yeah, Roderick. And then
He
yeah,
was great.
excellent.
That's great. Will has some food allergies, and so the maitre d' was so great at making sure that he was well cared for, that he could view the menu a day in advance to make sure that they, had something that he could
I've
eat.
never experienced that before. He showed me the next day's menu, and he would take my order just so. That's it. King of Wakanda and Queen.
All right, so that's service. So let's talk about the ports, the itinerary next. And I can maybe kick us off with that one. So when we were searching for a cruise, I mean, one of the itineraries we really wanted was the ABC Islands. That's Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao. And so we really specifically looked for a cruise that had this itinerary, and we were not disappointed.
Not at all. Our first stop was Aruba. There we had an excursion, an ATV, UTV excursion.
It was not a ship excursion. We booked it ourselves.
And so this excursion was awesome. I will say, as Katie said in her previous video, be prepared to be dirty, sandy, windy, dust in your eyes, and they provide little buffs to protect your nose and mouth. But other than that, I mean, they take you around Aruba, show you little landmarks, cool places, cool beach areas, historical places, and it was awesome. I mean, I'm a guy, so driving the ATV like I'm in an action movie, and so, but yeah, it was awesome.
And I was happy to have him drive. What was so really just interesting, I thought, about Aruba is that you drove through places that are just desert, right? You've got the cactus, the dirt, the sand, and just nothing but cactus and sand in sight. And then you turn a corner and you see these beautiful cliffs out to the sea, and it was just visually beautiful. The mistake that I made was I wore a white t-shirt, so it was not white at the end, but that's okay. That was a small price to pay. And even though the UTV is kind of covered, and I did wear sunscreen, I should have reapplied because that Aruba sun is no joke. So I did get a little bit of a sunburn, kind of right where my shorts ended. So take sunscreen with you, reapply, and maybe don't wear white. But otherwise, it really was an amazing experience.
And that was, to go along to your point, that was kind of mind-blowing. I mean, because it's a tropical environment, but it has cactuses, and it's right on the equator, and it's cactus desert-like conditions, and then you turn to your left and there's the ocean and beaches, and so it's kind of like, wow, okay, this is...
It was great. And then we booked with Around Aruba Tours, and we definitely would recommend them.
Yes.
It was pretty well organized, and our tour guide was great.
And it was what, 4 hours about?
About 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours. So it's well worth it. You get what you pay for, and it's just fun. And it seemed like it was thousands of people doing that activity as well. It was a lot of different,
groups. Not 1,000.
No, our personal group only had maybe 20 people.
20, yeah.
So
we'll put the link to Around Aruba Tours in the description box. They have no idea who we are, but that's helpful to folks who want to do that. All right, so our second stop was in Curacao. And it started off to be kind of a cloudy day. I thought it might rain. It was very hot.
Yes.
And on this one, we did a ship-sponsored excursion that was a food and walking tour.
This one, it was decent. The whole experience, the experience as a whole was great. But Curacao was kind of like, as far as the tour, we did a food and walking tour in San Juan, Puerto Rico, where they went in depth about history, historical sites, a lot of different options as far as food. So this one was kind of collegiate almost, like it was a school guided tour almost, so, and it was a good tour. It's just,
What I loved, the reason we booked this was because we had such a positive experience with the ship-sponsored food and walking tour in San Juan. And what we loved about that tour is you would go and walk to kind of some scenic places, some historical places, then you'd stop someplace and have a drink. And then you'd walk some more, see some more, really cool places, and then you'd stop and you'd have an appetizer. So you would have these kind of frequent breaks, but got to kind of learn more about the culture and the food. With the tour in Curacao, we started off on a bus. And we were on a bus for a little while. Then we got off and we kind of walked around the downtown area, learned about some government buildings. Didn't learn that much about really the history, and it was very hot, and so it was just continued kind of walking. And then we did get back on the bus, and we stopped at the Curacao factory, which was interesting. We're not big drinkers, so it wasn't we could have skipped that stop, but it was packed, and there were definitely a lot of people buying Curacao. And then we got back on the bus, and we got dropped off in the Mambo Beach area of Curacao, which is beautiful, by the way.
That part of the tour, that was the highlight. But like I said, it was more busing than walking. So, like I said, the next time, I mean, it's a great, I'm not going to poo-poo any tour because this is what they're doing. This is how they, make their money.
It was nice and knowledgeable. They took us to when we got dropped off in Long Beach, we ate at a kind of an outdoor restaurant overlooking the beach, and that was nice. The food was pretty good. Of course, the views, were amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But we just wish we had learned a little bit more about the people and the culture, and had a little more frequent stops because it was so hot when we were walking, and some kind of more frequent breaks would have been appreciated.
Yes.
All right. The last stop was in Bonaire.
Mm-hmm.
Well, describe Bonaire.
Bonaire, if I would have to describe Bonaire, it kind of reminds you of, as far as the beauty, Avatar. If you've seen Avatar, just this, the spectacular, the beauty, everything you can think of was Bonaire. And from
Minus
the
the
moment,
blue people.
yeah, minus the blue people. So as we're pulling in port around 5 o'clock in the morning, I was awake every day around 4:30 to 5 o'clock in the morning. So as we're approaching, as the sun is rising, I'm noticing the beauty of this place. And, you just get a feeling that this is about to be a special experience. And so that's what it was. So we booked a snorkeling tour. I didn't participate in snorkeling. I was, enjoying myself on a little catamaran or the boat. But this was Katie's excursion. Mine was the ATVs, dude stuff. Hers was snorkeling, plus, I'm not the best swimmer. So at the same time, it was very enjoyable, just based on how beautiful it was. And it just felt like you were on Pandora or something, and living in a Bob Ross painting, or that's how I would describe it.
Yeah, it was. The water was beautiful. This was not a ship-sponsored tour. We did book this ourselves with Woodwind. I read lots of positive reviews about Woodwind. And, growing up, I was definitely a fish. I, spent my summers at the Y, at the pool, and, I really grew up swimming and just don't have that much of an opportunity to do it anymore. So, as Will said, he kind of bit the bullet for me to do this snorkeling.
And it wasn't really biting, but it was her excursion. It's our excursion. So I really enjoyed it. Even though I wasn't in the water, I still enjoyed it just as much as that ATV tour.
Yeah, it was amazing. And the crew, the Woodwind, were great.
Yes.
I would say, would you guess there was maybe 30 people total on that tour?
On our particular boat, or whatever you call
It's
it.
just one boat, yeah.
I would say between 20 to 27, 25 maybe.
And then what they did is they split you into 3 snorkeling groups, and you had a guide with you, and the guides were,
Yes.
amazing. They would point out like cool looking fish and sea life, and then you'd come up to this, come to the surface, and she would tell you what the fish was, and some interesting facts about them. And the water was crystal azure blue, and you could see so clearly.
Mm.
And one of the things I was hoping to be able to do before we left on the cruise was to maybe buy a GoPro, like a used GoPro. We had a furnace breakdown. We had some expenses before the cruise that didn't allow us to do that. And so I thought, well, I'll get one of those waterproof bags and try to film with my phone. The waterproof bag worked great. I can link that below as well. But I had a hard time controlling my phone. But the beautiful thing about this tour is they have a photographer on staff who has a professional underwater camera. And so she spent time with each group, and so she captured the most beautiful photographs of the things we saw. And kind of my bucket list item was, I want to see a sea turtle, and we got to see 2, and we got some great shots of that. And you can buy just a few photographs from them, or you can buy every photograph they took. And I think I mentioned this in our overview video, but I think we got like 60, 70 photos.
Yes.
And it was
$40, yes.
So you can't beat that, and the quality was amazing. The experience was amazing.
And they also would make sure everybody was hydrated, provided drinks if you wanted. They provided a full lunch meal,
Yes.
which I wasn't expecting. After the 3 sites were visited, they provided lunch for everybody. But since I wasn't partaking in the swimming, me and the captain talked a lot, and so that was great too, because he didn't have to do that. He was just monitoring all the activity, but he took time, to talk to me about, his journey and how he got to where he was in Bonaire, and so he learned a little bit about me. But it's just, like I said, the customer service as a whole for the whole experience was top notch.
One of the coolest things we saw that we did not get a picture of because it happened so quickly and was equal parts frightening and fascinating to me. It was on the last snorkel spot, as we saw a very large moray eel. Again, I was kind of swimming towards it, but my heart was racing very quickly, but I couldn't get a picture of it with my phone, and the photographer wasn't with us at that moment. But yeah, it was really just, it's one of those kind of once in a lifetime experiences that I'll look back on, just with so much
Because when the other members, swimmers, snorkelers were coming back on board, it was like, it was a large eel. And so I'm like, what? I'm like, whoa, I don't want any eels, sharks. What is a moray eel? And so they're describing like, yeah, it was about 4 feet. And
he wanted nothing to do
and I'm like, where's Katie at? So she came on, she was so excited, but just seeing her exhilaration, and that made this, this excursion just that much better. And I'm just glad she could enjoy that. And I enjoyed it just as much. So.
Yeah. So if you have a chance to go to Bonaire, I highly suggest snorkeling with the Woodwind crew. They were amazing. All right, so next let's talk about food. So food is one of the reasons we initially booked with Celebrity, because we heard they had a reputation for good food, and we like to eat.
Yes, as you can tell, I'm still, the struggle's real. Get this weight in check, and this cruise didn't help. So, but anyway.
So the food overall I thought was really good. We ate in Blue almost every night. We only ate at a specialty restaurant one night, and so we'll get to that maybe in a minute. But the food in Blue was consistently, I thought, really good.
I mean, that's an understatement. From breakfast, they don't serve lunch. They do breakfast and dinner. Every meal. I'm a breakfast guy. I mean, every day was just great. And then from the dinner options, she's more of a artistic, culinary palate. I'm more, give me steak and potatoes. But, I ventured a little bit more this go around, and every meal in Blue was great.
And we did also only eat one time in the buffet, and that was for lunch on Embarkation Day. Yeah. And I mean, I like the buffet more than well, but it was just okay, I would say. But again, it's Embarkation Day, right? We give a lot of grace. So I have to take a moment to talk about Cafe Al Baccio and well, I don't think you've heard this. Have you heard about Cookie Gate?
Cookie Gate.
So I saw this recently on Dawn's video. By the way, it's Dawn at Dawn's Family Vacation. Has no idea who we are. We talk like we're on a first name basis.
Yes.
But he was the first cruise YouTuber that we started watching back in 2018.
And he actually reached out to us. We asked him about Celebrity because we were curious, and he responded, which was, he's one of the OG YouTubers as far as cruising. So
it seems like that they were now charging $2 for cookies, I believe at Cafe Al Baccio, plus 20% gratuities. That makes it $2.40 per cookie. My first thought was outrage. My second thought was, it's probably because we ate a lot of cookies on that cruise.
It might be.
Lost money on us on those cookies.
Yeah, it might be because, and they didn't have the macadamia nut, which is our favorite, but they had these double chocolate chip cookies, and every day I got between 4 to 10 cookies, along with an Americano or white chocolate mocha.
Right.
So yeah, the servers knew me too. Like, 4 chocolate. You want 4 or 10? That's how often we got cookies.
So
Yeah.
I hope they're not still charging.
That's sushi on 5.
Sushi on 5. Yeah, that was actually surprisingly, not surprising. I shouldn't say surprisingly because we've never had bad food experiences. it was really good.
It was. And I have a food allergy, so I had to watch what I ordered. So, and we'll throw in some pics of what we, it was delicious. I'm not the biggest fan of pork either. And this pork ramen noodle type deal with it, awesome.
I have a lobster ramen. And so while we're talking about food, actually, I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to name your favorite bite, it's a singular bite from the cruise, what would it be?
The first fillet from Blue.
The first night.
The first night. That fillet was so tender. And I know this is a sin or blasphemy, but I like my steak well done. So, but this particular cut of meat was the most tender, softest piece of meat I've ever eaten in my life. I'm like,
while still being cooked well done.
yeah. And I'm like, how did you guys do this? And they kind of looked at me like, yeah, this is what we do.
There's two that come to mind for me. So one is the lemon tart. They're just little small lemon tarts from Cafe Al Vecchio.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I adore those. But the other thing that was so good and nothing fancy was the chicken pot stickers at Sushi on
Oh,
Fire.
yes. I forgot about those.
Oh, they were so good.
Those were
I
good.
don't think I captured a picture of them. If I did, I'll insert it, but really,
Yeah.
really good. I had a couple things I didn't absolutely love in Blue. There was a fish dish that I thought were really salty, and then I had kind of a blue cheese souffle that didn't really taste like blue cheese to me. It's not that they were bad, but those are the only two, kind of somewhat misses that I can think about. This was an 8-night cruise, so in all the 8 nights, those are the only 2 misses for me.
Yeah.
All right, let's turn our attention to entertainment. And so, Will Kingsway, but he's not a big show kind of guy, like musical. I like them, but Will doesn't, so we didn't really do a lot of those, but we did participate in it.
See how she's trying to throw. She's like, yeah, we didn't go to shows because he doesn't. I would have went if she, but at the same time, I'm not the biggest fan. I mean, the musicals I like was, Sound of Music and Mary Poppins. That's because we watched it when I was younger. But yeah, but I would have went to the show. But
we're also kind of boring people, and we just like chilling on the
yeah,
balcony.
I fully take that. Yeah, I'm boring. I'll just chill. So anyway.
Yeah. But we did go to a couple shows. The first we went to was a comic.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't recall his name, and probably wouldn't list it if I did because we didn't think he was very funny. So that was a.
I mean, but the crowd, they reacted.
The crowd was into it.
But we also had to, alcohol was in play too. So
for other people, not
yeah,
for us.
not for us, but he was getting laughs. But like I said, how much was him? How much was those spirits?
Yeah.
But,
oh, that's true. But the other 2 shows we did were The Magician. His name was John Accardo.
Yeah.
If you can catch John Accardo anywhere, I know he does a lot of cruises. He might do other venues. Amazing.
Yes.
And so funnier than the comics.
Yes.
So funny, that kind of dry, sarcastic humor. And
Black people love magicians. Black people just love magic. And, hey, I'm right there. He was amazing. And he was doing some things. I'm like, how did he do? So yeah, John Accardo. Yeah.
We thought that was amazing. The other thing we did is we bought a couple of tickets to the Deal or No Deal game. And so we went to that. We did not win anything, but there was a woman who won a cruise, a free cruise. We were supremely jealous of her. If your number's picked, and luck is on your side, you can win a cruise.
Yes, and it was a good itinerary too. I mean, I can't remember what it was. I just know it was. I think they showed what it was valued at.
I think it's just a value. You get to pick where you go.
Oh, was that what it was? Okay. So either way, I was hating over there in the corner.
But good for her. All right. The last thing, maybe there's 2 more things to talk about, but by the way, if you enjoy this content, we invite you to subscribe. It would help our little channel out so much. And if this
give it a
video is
thumbs up.
helpful, yeah, give it a thumbs up. So let's talk about the boarding and disembarkation process. So we work so hard. We both have somewhat stressful jobs, but when we go on vacation, we want to get there as quickly as possible.
Yes.
So I am that person that stays up until midnight on the day that you can check in for your cruise, so I can get the earliest boarding time. But you don't have to do that, but we just want to start our vacation and start having fun. So I did that, and we were in the first boarding group. I can't recall the time now. Was it 11?
It was 11.
11 a.m.
Yeah.
So we got to the cruise port, which was Fort Lauderdale.
Mm-hmm.
I think we got there about 10:20. Maybe we even got there early.
We got there pretty early.
Yeah. And there were hundreds of people already there. Now the actual where they have you wait it's a nice space, a nice big open space. But I mean, they were not checking arrival times. They were just if you came through the door.
Yeah.
You know, so there were literally hundreds of people ahead of us. So I think initially we kind of felt some kind of way about that. But
No. I feel some type of way about that. That is the black eye over this whole experience because, like I said, she did all the legwork. She stayed up until I was knocked out. But she did, the legwork to make sure we got a good, check-in time. So, 11:30, and then we get there, and you can tell people are just coming in. And so they called the times, and it was organized, and it wasn't chaos, and it was just, so.
This wasn't chaos so much. It's just they weren't like anybody could come in early and get on first. So however, at least the way they were doing the boarding was organized, but it was clearly kind of a first come first served scenario. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was
we still got on board pretty early.
Yeah, I don't remember what time we were on board by, but it was early enough. And we do like that you're able to go to your stateroom and drop off your carry-on luggage, pick up your key cards. So we do like that. So it was okay. Disembarkation, I don't know how, it's hard for me to criticize because how do you get, 2,500 plus people
I think it was
off a
20,
cruise ship
close to
in
28.
an organized way? So I don't know, go ahead. Speak to that.
Disembarkation was kind of a nightmare. When we initially, I'm trying to remove it from my memory because it was that, I guess is worse on other cruise lines, but this was
that bad.
When you get to deck 3. It is people everywhere yelling. You have employees of Celebrity trying to gain control. We had the cruise director. She was everywhere. She was trying to
herd cats.
She was trying, and so we had a set time we were supposed to disembark, and you could tell it was the same situation. It was first come, first served. People were just trying to get off of that ship. We would prefer to stay on board a little bit longer if we could, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. So they had us waiting inside the main theater to wait for our times to be called so we can get off the ship. And like I said, people hurt or people just going off. So it got so bad. I'm like, hey, Katie, let's just go off let's get off the ship too. And that's exactly what we did. Nobody checked. Nobody.
So we didn't do the self-assist disembarkation. We did have a large suitcase that we brought that we did put outside our room the night before. So it was essentially checked and we pick it up in the cruise terminal. And so that's why they have those assigned times, so the cruise terminal's not just awash with thousands of folks trying to find their luggage. And they did in the cruise terminal have the luggage arranged by disembarkation time, so that was pretty organized. But we did end up, as Will said, just kind of getting off at a little bit earlier time because
it wasn't that much. It wasn't
that much earlier,
ridiculous. Yeah, so we just got off.
And so we were able to we had to wait just a couple of minutes to get our bag. But I think from here on out, we will try to do just the self-assist so we can leave whenever we're ready to leave.
Well, we're saying that, but I bring a lot of sneakers and it's heavy.
By the way, that'll be our next video. We're going to talk about what we packed versus what we wore and did we overpack. All that to say, I think next time we will definitely try to do the self-assist disembarkation and just take our own bags off the ship.
Yeah.
All right, we have come to the point of the video for the speed review. I realize nothing about this video has been speedy yet, but we're about to be. So speed, we're going to start with the S, and speed stands for service. On a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate the service we received?
5.
I agree, 5. All right, P is for ports, which includes our experience with excursions.
I would say 4.5.
I agree. I'm just going to say 4.5 as well. All right, the next is E, and E stands for eats, so our experience with food.
4.5 again.
I'm going to say a 4.
Okay.
There's always room for a little bit of improvement. Again, very, very good, but I'm going to give it a 4. All right, the next E is for entertainment.
3.5.
I'm gonna give it a 4, just because John Ricardo was so good. So
that was all him.
I'm gonna inch it up a little bit for you and say a 4. And then lastly, the D is for disembarkation and embarkation process.
Oh wow, you go for this one first.
I'm gonna say a 3.5. It wasn't terrible, but there's some room.
There's some room for improvement. 3.5 as well.
So we'll average that out, and we'll put the average at the end. But overall, a super enjoyable cruise. We had the perfect amount of kind of relaxation and activities. So this one will be hard to top, but we look forward to planning out our next cruise and looking forward to trying different lines. If you watched till the end, thank you so much.
Thank you
for watching. It means a lot to us.
Yeah, we're an up and coming YouTube channel, and we're just trying to get our view out there. So every like really helps the algorithm discover us. So we appreciate you sticking to the end.
Thank you so much, and definitely stay tuned. Our next video will be about packing and what we brought versus what we wore. Thanks so much, and happy cruising.